It's all about them cool ideas. Oh boy, Killer Toon's got some really cool tech choices, but make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So we've learned over the years that being able to summon any tuner monster might not necessarily be a good thing, because Naturia Rosewhip is one of those culprits that shows up every blue moon and you're like, oh, that is a card. Because Rosewhip literally says your opponent can only activate one spell and trap card per turn. That's it. Alright, so you basically get to levy your opponent and put them underneath a floodgate condition. So that's actually the really cool thing about Killer Toon. Because you're kind of like Ice Barrier in the way that you are accessing these really weird floodgate effects. But when your floodgate effects are actually in rotation, and you actually have a deck that you can use and punish these with, then I think Killer Toon will be a successful deck. We just need more floodgates to actually, make this work out. Now, obviously, Red Nova's extension capabilities for this deck were wonderful. Naturia Rosewhip and its fundamental limiting capabilities on the spell and trap side for the opponent is also wonderful. But inherently, Killer Toon still needs a little bit more to up their game. Because right now, they are struggling really, really hard in the OCG. I would not be surprised by the time that the TCG gets this, that we actually see that the OCG has produced some sort of support to actually push this deck in the direction of making it such a better meta challenger. I know, right? Naturia Rosewhip, of all things, was not something that I had initially expected to see, but I guess I should have remembered this card existed, because it's a pain in the butt. The Vices package. So, Killer Toon is doing what we were expecting them to do. They're taking advantage of the Vices cards. Now, the whole reason for this is the Vices cards are able to use tuners to make their bigger boss monsters, which solves your problems. One of the things everybody's like, oh, being able to use tuners, you're limited in what you could do. No, Vices was a definitely realistic archetype that they looked at with this support and said, hey, we are able to combo up and go down all these extra lines, and we can do some cool things. And I will say, having access to reframing on the counter trap scale is a really nice tool, man. And I greatly appreciate that. That's the sort of thing that is automatically going to help you out and just put pressure on your opponent very, very nicely. Outside of that, you also get access to Prime Heart. It's another extra synchro that actually gets to help you out. I also saw that they were playing the other Manadium trap card in the deck. The good news, though, is honestly, it's just the Manadium, the big synchros, and then it's the 2 trap cards. You don't have to worry about any of the extra draw power. You don't have to worry about, the Vices tuner monster itself. You don't have to go through with all of the extra pieces. What you're accessing is a very minuscule engine in the deck to help up your consistency. And then you're calling Naturia Rosewhip on the phone, telling Rosewhip to get out here because you don't want your opponent to have a good time. Cha-cha! Isn't that really cool? Honestly, I think Killer Toon has been one of my favorite decks to actually see actually working out. And I think that's so cool. Alright, Spirit Sculptor. Now, you probably, at one point in your life, read this card, said, this card's awful. Why do I care about this? Well, Spirit Sculptor says you can contribute 1 monster. Add a monster from your deck to your hand whose combined original attack and defense equal the combined original attack and defense of the tributed monster. Now, you're going to notice here that Spirit Sculptor has 1600, 2100, which is a 3700 combined stat line. Heka Hands, on the other hand here, have the ability to work out with this. And also, it adds from deck to hand. It doesn't actually summon the monster. So this little guy here, you're able to normal summon, tribute him, And then you're able to go get one of the Heck-A-Hand monsters, one of the 2 searchers, to get you into your combo. This now provides copies 7, 8, and 9 for either the Spell Searcher or the Monster Searcher. Now, obviously, the Monster Searcher might not be the one you want to go into, because you want to typically use this to get into the monster that searches for Heck-A-Hands. And you also do run into a short problem here of possibly getting blasted by something like Droll and Lockbird, because it is 1 extra trigger that can punish you, which I don't necessarily like that. But the point here is, it's another search tool that Heck-A-Hands can actually access, and it's supposed to up the consistency of what you're working with. And I think that's fine, people. You've got Heck-A-Hands has got a lot of innovations going for it. Right now, it's just been trying to figure out what are the best tools to actually make that work out. And I think we're onto something here. Sphere mode. So, Eniacraft, I've been following, we just had Megazordborg touching down. A lot of the more recent builds of Eniacraft have actually been main decking Sphere mode. Now, the reason for this is because you need to be able to go second with Eniacraft. Now, Eniacraft is able to provide you with infinite bodies. And I mean, your deck's job is just infinitely unloading these monsters from your hand. You can get 5 face-down monsters, double pendulum scale, field spell setup. But the problem is you need cards to fundamentally go second. That's where Sphere mode comes in, and its job is to board break your opponent's field and actually allow you a place to kind of establish your setup. And that's the thing I actually really like about the idea behind this, is it's a board breaker in the sense of most decks are going to get greedy, and they are actually going to set up that many monsters. Now, since you are playing Eniacraft, you don't commit your normal summon. So if you have to use the spell card to go draw, and you happen to see the Sphere mode a little bit more into the combo, you're not going to get punished for that. And I think that's one of the cool things that the deck has. Now, Eniacraft is still being explored. There are so many different ways that you can go about this, but I think one thing is for certain. Sphere mode is going to be a card that I think you're going to want to have in your side deck, especially for the ability to break your opponent's board. Honestly, that, or if you just want to play the FTK stuff, Gap to FTK, there are so many hilarious things that you can do with it. I've loved every one of these builds. They've been really, really funny. Speaking of Eniacraft, we've gotten some Labyrinth technology out here. Now, I guess you like the whale being a monster that can protect your traps during your turn? Because I guess one of the most annoying things about playing Labyrinth is if your opponent just shuts you out and says that you can't actually attempt to do anything. But being able to use those trap cards passively and form up interruptions does tend to work out pretty well. Now, I've seen only one Labyrinth Eniacraft deck showing up. It felt like an interesting concept on paper. I'm not going to say that this is the biggest big brain thing I've seen, but it does warrant some testing. Because when you start to get around to these ideas and you start to go, okay, well, this idea is working this way, or, we're having success here because of this, it does actually kind of, jar a little bit of the deck building process. But like I said, how many tech choices can we very realistically shove into this deck? What are going to be the most successful things that you can cook up with Eniacraft? This is just one more notch on the things that you can mess around with. So a lot of cool tech choices right now. There are so many cool things that are happening because of these deck build pack decks. I think Naturia Rose Whip is definitely one of the scarier ones. That's for sure. Floodgate monsters are crazy. So please, comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.